Good morning once more. Welcome to the news belt of the show. Let's get into our first story now. Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia says government will soon address the challenges confronting security agencies, forcing them to depend on the importation of security hardware. According to him, this undesirable state of affairs is among the reasons the president made it a matter of unavoidable necessity to institute the one district, one factory policy. According to him, the human resources of the Ghana Armed Forces have not been leveraged, and this status quo will not be allowed to persist in the era of industrialization under the Akufo-Addo-led government. Samuel Mbura has more in this report.
The vice president was speaking at the inauguration of a joint venture company under the Defense Industries Holding Company Limited, DHOC. He observed that armed forces all over the world have been pacesetters for driving development from diverse fronts. Same, however, cannot be said of Ghana because of the little knowledge the public has of the services of the Ghana Armed Forces. He corrected that the Ghana Armed Forces doesn't only specialize in peacekeeping. He wants the status quo changed.
The armed forces all over the world have been pace setters for driving development efforts on diverse fronts. In light of this, many countries, like the State of Israel, Egypt, and most developed and middle-income developing countries in Europe and the Americas and Asia, have all leveraged their militaries to catapult their development through defense industrial complexes. Ghana is yet to take full advantage of the huge technical human resource the armed forces have in propelling our developmental progress over the years. However, it is obvious this status quo cannot continue to persist under the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo era of industrialization and one district, one factory for a Ghana beyond aid. Although the armed forces have had the entity called Defense Industries Holding Company, DHOC, for some years now, this entity has not been leveraged significantly to catalyze the industrialization of our country until now.
Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces, Vice Admiral Seth Amwama, said the establishment of Defense Industries Holding Company Limited is in conformity with all the legal requirements. This enables it to undertake national developmental projects across the country.
The establishment of the Defense Industries Holding Company, DHOC for short, therefore conformed with all the necessary legal requirements after the establishment had been duly approved by the Armed Forces Council. All legal issues relating to company formation and operation have been duly addressed. Additionally, this endeavor conforms to provisions in the 1992 Constitution, particularly Article 210, Clause 10, which lends credence to the proposition for the Ghana Armed Forces to engage in national development projects in the country.
The DHOC project, when realized, is expected to establish an industrial command that will focus on provision of critical logistic needs of the armed forces. It will also be a vanguard of the country's industrialization drive, taking necessary actions that will ensure an effective management of any emerging socio-economic and human security threats in the country. The Vice President commissioned some construction equipment and also cut salt for the start of project at the Burma camp. Samuel Mbura's report.
Now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin says Ghana football is suffering because of the dismissal of former GFA boss Kwesi Nyantechi. Investigative journalist Anas Arimayaw Anas and his Tiger Eye PI indicted the former GFA president together with others in the number 12 expose. According to the Speaker, the removal of Nyantechi, whom he argues was a bright spot in African football, also brought down the game in Ghana. Speaking after swearing in newly elected executives of the Parliamentary Press Corps, Mr. Bagbin revealed FIFA executives at a meeting questioned actions against Nyantechi, who was a colossus within their rank.
It is a force for progressive social change, unquote. Yesterday I was in Wa. In fact, this week has been very busy for me. I've been up and down the country, here and there, running around holding meetings. And I reminded, it's good, there's no doubt in being investigative, but when we were able to bring down Kwesi Nyantechi, we also brought down Ghana football. That was one of the brightest spots at FIFA, which the French call five. And when I met the executives of FIFA and said I was the Speaker of the Parliament of Ghana, I said, what happened? Why did you people do that? That it was a dynamic addition. The value that he carried at their meetings, he was highly respected, and he was very influential, and Ghana football was up there. We thought we were only handling Nyantechi. We didn't know we were handling the whole of Ghana. Senegal is up there today because the Secretary General of the whole FIFA is a beautiful young lady, and you can't beat her during elections. And she's the Secretary General of FIFA. That's the chief executive of FIFA. You see their stadium, you see their national team. So please, leaders don't stand alone. They stand for something that is symbolic of the country. Criticize us, correct your children, but don't break their hands or their legs. It will affect you. And that's where we are now. And people are calling for government to forgive Nyantechi and bring him back to access. We're able to perform the wonders in Nigeria because of the new technical team that we put in place. They were able to gather the potential young players of future, and they were prepared to die for Ghana. If we keep this team for some time, I assure you, it's not just the FIFA games we are going to play. Ghana will be up there again. And that's one of the soft power of our country. That's why in spite of our size, our population, and the fact that we don't have critical exports, Ghana is in the minds and mouth of everybody in the world. So please, you either build or destroy. The pen again is mightier than the sword, and it is in your hands. Hold it carefully.
Well, the Right Honourable Speaker there. Headmaster of St. Mary's Seminary Senior High School at Lolobi in the Otu region has bemoaned the infrastructural deficit the school is faced with, which, according to him, is affecting the smooth administration of the school and effective academic work. Some Get Fund projects in the school have stalled for as long as 20 years. Reverend Father Felix Akpa was speaking at a ceremony to hand over a renovated dormitory facility by the old boys of the school. Peter Senu has more in this report.
Our challenges. It's very unfortunate that St. Mary's Seminary Senior High do not benefit in any of the free SHS school projects. But we still hope that it is not too late. We have over 20 years old Get Fund and completed classroom block, which also need to be completed so that we can get classroom for the boys. We have over 20 years old Get Fund and completed dormitory block, which needs to be completed to enable us provide accommodation for the first year students. We have over 7 years old Get Fund and completed assembly hall. We have over 7 years old Get Fund and completed administration block, which needs serious attention now for good administrative work.
The headmaster, Reverend Father Felix Akpa, shedding light on some challenges facing the school after sharing its success stories. It is in light of these challenges facing the school that the old boys of St. Mary's Seminary Senior High School have mobilized to change the narrative of the school in terms of infrastructural development. St. Mary's Seminary Senior High School, which was established in 1961 with 16 students, now has a second and third year population of 840. According to the old boys, the school over the past 26 years has seen its past glories of academic excellence and discipline on the wane. Hence, the need to rise and rebuild the school. James Kwasi Obayeko is the president of the Old Boys Association, SMOBA.
So I told the old students, enough of the complaints. Let's put monies together and begin working. We established and set off the Smart School Facelift project. We are looking at giving a facelift to Smart School, not only in terms of infrastructure, but in terms of everything that goes into the training. I'm drawing all of us onto the pitch to be mindful of the response for the call and get everybody to work. Enough of the excuses. Smart School from 1961 has always been known for two great things: academic excellence and self-discipline. These two are coming back. They will come back with the collaborations that all the various stakeholders come on board with. We do not want any negative energies in our midst again.
Duty Regional Director for Education, Nana Kubia Jobakatai II, who graced the occasion, called for more stakeholder collaboration to bring development in schools to bridge the deficit gap. The Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Intimfojo, called on Ghanaians to stop politicizing the free SHS program. According to him, the program is yielding dividend and must be supported by all.
Free SHS will be a policy that will be a gift to posterity. It will be a monumental, game-changing policy that will transform our socio-economic development efforts. One best way to eradicate poverty is to empower the child through education. When you have the critical mass and population of our society educated in itself, poverty will be eradicated. When it comes to matters of education and things to do with the future of our children, we must do well to take politics out of it. The education of our children must be left out of politics.
A renovated dormitory facility at the cost of 150,000 Ghana cedis by all students and other financiers was handed over to the school. It also has a bathhouse and a mechanized water storage facility. Peter Senu for JoyNews.
On to our next story now, and some government workers and farmers in the Ashanti region have benefited from a fish farming training for self-employment even after retirement. The training comes on the back of calls for government workers to access entrepreneurial skills to venture into their own businesses during pension. It was organized by the Crops Research Institute of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, aimed at equipping participants with entrepreneurial and business management skills. There's more in this report.
About 14% of Ghanaians in retirement age receive a pension. As of 2018, there were close to 1.9 million people in Ghana aged 60 years, with about 270,000 of the figure receiving pensions. Many pensioners have had to rely on meager financial resources to fend for themselves. Director of the Crops Research Institute, Professor Moses Muchia, explains the motive for the workshop.
We have also realized that of late, people need a lot of resources to go into fish farming. But we sat down and developed a simple thing, a collapsible pond that all farmers can easily afford. And also people are saying that when they go to pension, what are they going to do? So we thought about all this and we decided to come out with this aquaculture.
The two-day training availed participants with aquaculture and business management and planning skills. The acquired skills would facilitate participants to harness their limited resources to make a living. Dr. Jonas Osei-Edu, an economist at the Crops Research Institute, facilitated the training.
What we're trying to do at Crop Research is to make sure that our technologies get out to the public through trainings. So this is the second training on aquaponics-based food systems. Basically, aquaponics has to do with how you can rear fish at your backyard and also use the wastewater to fertilize your crops. And you don't need so much to start. So we're trying to get to our industrial players through trainings of this nature.
Some participants said the training has been impactful.
I work with MOFA and we have been training farmers, but this one has given me new modern method of fish industry or the aquaculture.
We've also known that feeding of the fingerlings or the fish has a time limit and quantity. You shouldn't let anybody come and feed them anyhow.
Well, the leadership of the Ghana National Association of Teachers has assured that all teachers will receive their laptops as promised by government. The one teacher, one laptop policy suggested by the previous administration of NAT is being championed by government to ensure all teachers own laptops to enhance ICT literacy in schools. General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Musa, during a tour of the Volta and OT regions, detailed that the distribution of laptops to teachers in junior high schools has begun nationwide following the completion of distribution in senior high schools.
The National Delegate Conference that was held between the 2nd and 7th of January 2022 at the KNUST elected 5 national officers. They are here, as our chairman rightly put it, 1, to thank you for the confidence reposed in them, and also to familiarize themselves, at least traveling to where some of us are working, so when they are there and they are taking decisions, they'll be mindful. Then the most important thing is that they also want to listen to you. We have heads of department, the deputy general secretaries, everybody is here. All the questions that you have, you can ask them.
One of the questions from NAT members at the 6 meetings during a week tour was related to the one laptop, one teacher policy. Responding to the teachers, the General Secretary, Thomas Musa, had this to say.
Your people have communicated the issues to you. To the best of my knowledge, all the SHS people have received it throughout the camp. They are starting to be corrected. But that is the information we have. The next one is has to do with the JHS. The JHS, all the regions have received, except Ashanti, and then I think 2 districts in the OT region, in the Volta region. And in the Volta region yesterday, it came to our attention that they have supplied, but when we check the statistics, for example, in Norway they had 300, I think Bando, they said they're giving them 150 or so, the JHS. But it looks like when you compare the figures on the database of the district as the quantity start came, there is some kind of short for them. We told them that they should take note of it, of them, and their report said they will follow up and let all the things of the outstanding ones come to them.
The leadership promised to negotiate for befitting salaries while implementing policies to enhance the livelihood of members.
With the current economic hardship and any proposal from NAT, yes, we have proposed a cost of living allowance. We call it COLA. We are pushing it. You know, we have a salary adjustment for this year already. So what can be done to pushing us is only COLA. So we are pushing for that.
Silence of national executive on the current economic hardship the country is experiencing. Leaders must speak up for increment. National executives are not silenced on this at all. Like I said, we have submitted a proposal, and we are making plans to give you a good deal this year.
Some of the districts, including Ho and Hohoe, requested funding to complete their district office projects.
We want to recognize our regional chairman, Mr. David Carter, for helping us get the opportunity to be the first district selected in the Volta region to get a prototype secretariat. We are not complete yet with the building, and so we are appealing to leadership that they should help us complete the building as soon as possible.
The executives also extended support to two ailing members, Joycelyn Atikpo, who was stationed at the Kpanle Hose Basic School, and Janet Adi from the Jarsekine district. The NAT national executives visited the land procured by the Kpando district to construct a district office and other facilities. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News.
Let's get into the news review now, and we have Liz Hayfron Asari, a media consultant. Liz, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and you're looking lovely as always. Thank you for making the time. I want to start the review, though, not on a very pleasant note. It has to do with a story concerning a young girl who very recently got defiled, and she's a 10-year-old class 3 student, and now she's unable to walk after 4 men defiled her, sodomized her at Ibra Edumfa in the Ibra Asibu Kwamankese district of the Central Region. And the victim actually narrated to the Daily Guide, from which we got the story, that one of her attackers on Thursday evening sent her to buy some stuff for him, and upon her return, he asked her to come inside to deliver the items, and that's how they got their hands on her and engaged in this dastardly act. Your reaction to this? I see it's left you somewhat tongue-tied.
I don't have any words. I don't know what to say. I mean, when I hear stories like these or read stories like these, my reaction is that what's wrong with the men? They must need some psychiatric help if they are not on narcotics. I can't imagine. Don't they have daughters? Don't they have sisters? Don't they have nieces? I mean, 4 men on a 10-year-old girl, even one is an ordeal, especially when it is defilement. Even one is an ordeal because the girl is not mature enough. She's not prepared for any of this. I don't know. I think that the law must take its course. I think that we still need to educate people more that defilement, it is a crime, yes, but again, people must understand that when the children are not of age, you're probably destroying them for life. I mean, now she can't walk. I don't know what her parents are going through at this stage. What interventions are we making as a people to ensure that these people are taken care of? I mean, those who are defiled, those who are raped, the men are taken to court. They may be jailed, yes, but then how do we look after the girl after this? She must be traumatized. She probably will run away from any man she sees. I mean, and it is for life. I shudder to think about these things because it really hurts to the core. If you're a mother and you have a daughter, then you know exactly what it is, because your daughter steps out and you're not sure whether she's going to be safe, whether you have to make sure that she's in a company where she can be protected all the time, you know, and it's traumatizing not only for the girl, for the parents as well. And if she has siblings, even worse.
Very, very traumatic, and we pray for her, basically. But we pray also that the long arms of the law, should all of this be confirmed, will be swift in meting out what justice must be meted out. Because sometimes it is said that the axe of or the wheels of justice grind slowly, but extremely fine. But sometimes it's so slow that people lose hope in the law, and that is what I feel we must try to avoid.
Yes, unfortunately, we have moved away from our children belonging to the community because of some of the ways that parents have behaved. Otherwise, the whole community would ostracize these men and make sure that they are dealt with. And the society, the whole society and the whole community will look after the girl, but we end up stigmatizing these girls and making them feel like outcasts. They end up feeling like they have done something wrong, but the little girl has done absolutely nothing wrong.
Mm. Let's get into the Daily Graphic newspaper list and look at some very interesting stories there. The first one, banner headline, Destination Ghana launched. Project targets 1 million tourists from the UK, Europe annually. And the country has launched the flagship tourism project, Destination Ghana, to whip up interest among travelers around the world, to look to Ghana to satisfy their leisure and adventure curiosities. Riding on the back of vast ecological and unique heritage sites across the country, the project seeks to attract by 2024 1 million tourists annually from the United Kingdom and Europe. It is a sequel to the success of Ghana's Year of Return marked in 2020, just before COVID-19 struck, which did not only put the country in the global spotlight, but also brought it nearly $2 million by way of spending. But I have some very interesting questions on my mind, Liz. We have such vast resources when it comes to tourism. I always go back to this. There's a place where Osajefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, used to retreat while he was still alive. It's somewhere up north. It's been left to rot. So maybe because of political interest and all of that. I've forgotten the specific place, but it's there. Put this in some other part of the world, they would have turned it into a tourism hub, a touristic hub where they would milk money year after year. Come to Ghana and we waste it. And just on the news a few weeks ago, there was this place, I think somewhere in Paga. Paga is known usually for the crocodile pond and all of that. There's this place where slaves at a point would go to a rock they would sit on and all of that. Why we've not made so much noise out of a place like that? I mean, there are so many of them. You look at where Komfanoche's sword apparently is. There was a time I got a report from a friend who had been there not too long ago, and the state of the place was not the best. This person sent me pictures. So we can do all the talking we like, and we want to turn the country into this and that. Ghana, what we have, if you look at the trajectory over how many years, we've been getting tourists of about 1 million or less. You see that there's so much more we can do. So how do you feel about a project like this? Yes, a Destination Ghana, but it's unfortunate. For me, I see that we are not serious about tourism. We just love to talk, and pump a lot of money into ventures that bring us practically nothing. Your take?
Yes, government has always been paying lip service to the tourism industry. As far back as 1994, when the Africa Travel Association had its meeting in Ghana, in Accra, a lot of noise was made about tourism. We talked about our tourist attractions and how we can get people into Ghana, and we set up all kinds of committees. And then you realize that from that time, we had the Emancipation Day celebrations and all like that. All that has dwindled away. And it's only because government is always paying lip service to the tourism industry. If we really need to grow our tourism industry, if we really want to grow our tourism industry, then we should look at pumping money into our tourism industries. We shouldn't just think that the private sector will take it up and run with it. It goes beyond that. There are certain facilities that must be provided before the private sector can engage and do what they have to do, because they definitely will want to recoup all the money. Government should stop paying lip service to tourism and let's get serious. Tourism is not just about hotels. We have a lot, like you said, we have a lot of tourist attractions. I've been to quite a number because I used to do tourism reporting before. But then it gets to a point where you get tired. Again, our infrastructure does not augur well for these sites. If you go to a place where there's no accommodation, you have to travel miles. If you go to Wuli, for instance, where is a hotel around Wuli that you can stay in? A very comfortable place. Where are the restaurants and things that you can eat from?
Right.
We need to make sure that we are building a tourism industry properly, not just paying lip service. And it's not just about the attractions, it's about the facilities that will encourage tourists to come in. Why should I get up and travel all the way to Inzulenzu and have to travel all the way back to Takrady to find somewhere to sleep?
Imagine that. And that's a core point you make. And it's so relevant now because you know the hoteliers, the Hotel Association, they've been talking about the fact that, look, we're going to have to increase our costs and charges and all of that because the cost of everything has gone up. And if they were getting the numbers, guess what? It would be affordable. I mean, there are Ghanaians who would want to, the Nzuluzu and other places, they would want to go there. But the point is, when you look at the cost of the package, where you stay, accommodation, feeding and everything, it makes a lot of people not even want to do intra-tourism. So I feel we're joking with this bit. We like to talk too much. I've been to countries, and I always cite the example of Cuba. Cuba is a country that, I mean, they haven't ceased to amaze me. It's been, what, a decade thereabouts since I've been to that place as a student. But you look at what they've done with their industry when it comes to tourism. They don't have much when it comes to resources. They have just a little bit of oil. They've had an embargo on them since the 1950s. But if you look at what they've done with their beaches, for example, pristine beaches, turquoise, waters and all of that, and the infrastructure, hotels and all of that, even in spite of the socialism they practice, what they've done with it. And you come to Ghana that is supposed to have a free market, be practicing capitalism and, to be democratic, and you look at what we're doing here, and you just look at it and think, what are we doing? It makes no sense.
We don't have a very good transportation network. Our airports internally are not up to scratch. So there's a lot that needs to be done. And that is not for the private sector to do, it's for government to do. Our roads are still begging to be taken care of. We don't have a good maintenance culture. And so the people who are even taking care of the tourist attractions that we are making so much noise about are not really enthused about what they're doing, because their salaries at the end of the month does not really augur well for anything. And so people will just pay lip service and just look at it and just leave it. But if we really are attracting tourists, then we need to pump a lot of money into the industry.
We need to do that. Let's move on to this other story. I'm sure you've also been following the relocation of onion sellers to Ajen Kotoku. I am particularly interested in the story because I went to the original site in Agbobloshi, and when they were moved to Ajen Kotoku, I was there to report as well. And they were complaining about lots of amenities, even where to attend to nature's call and all of that. Well, government spends 5 million Ghana cedis on Ajen Kotoku onion market. So logically, I'm interested in what exactly the spending went into. The story is on page 16. The government has spent about 5 million Ghana cedis on providing amenities at the Ajen Kotoku onion market to ensure that the place is conducive for traders. The Ganwest Municipal Chief Executive Clement Wilkinson said the amount was used for the construction of sheds, paving of the ground, installation of streetlights, and the construction of washroom facilities and a mosque. Part of it was also used to secure an additional parcel of land for the expansion of the market. There is the claim, and I say claim here because sometimes what you're told, and I'm not denigrating anybody, sometimes what you're told and the reality on the ground can be different. This is Ghana. We have added 12 sheds, making them 14 in total. That alone cost us about 1.5 million Ghana cedis. Liz, I could see you nodding and smiling a bit. I think this is something that I would encourage my team to go and take a look at. It's important that when these matters crop up, we check how we are getting value for money. Because after about a year, the same people, the onion traders, have been complaining. So it would be interesting to find out from them, go there on site, see these developments, and find out from them whether they are, in fact, making the progress that they seek.
Again, I will question. I mean, was the creating of or building of sheds a priority for the people there? I thought that they were complaining about sanitation and hygienic conditions for nature's calls. So why wasn't that the first thing that was taken care of? So from what was with regards toilet facilities, how many more have been added? How comfortable is it for the people? Are they better off now? And like you said, I think that when we hear these things as journalists, we must go and find out and bring it to the fore. That is the way we can keep the government on their toes, so that they're not just paying us lip service, but they're ensuring that the things that we need and we are crying out for are provided for us. So I'd agree with you that your team probably should take a look, bring us pictures, make us see what is happening at Ajin Kotoku, and then we'll be able to judge whether it's just inadequate to provide 5 million CDs, if more has to be done.
Right.
Because whatever happens there translates to all of us, especially those of us who go to the market to buy foodstuffs. If it's not a hygienic place, then you probably are bringing a lot of sickness to your home. Is that what you want to do? No. So we should make sure that government is not only paying its service, but everything that it has said that it has done has been done, and that the people are better off.
Let's wrap on the Daily Graphic. Don't abandon COVID-19 protocols. Ghana Health Service cautions the public, and I am in total agreement with this call. Don't abandon the protocols. Country on high alert against terrorist attacks. Minister of National Security assures. In the middle spread of the paper, sore throat in kids could lead to heart disease. Dr. Bafojan is saying that. Did you know that? Sore throat in kids could lead to heart disease. Details on page 24. So nothing should be taken for granted when it comes to the kids. And on the back of the Daily Graphic, latest tidal waves in Qatar. NADMO responds with relief items, rescue boats, but still a bit tardy. Yesterday, I interacted with the Volta Regional Director of NADMO. And as of that time, she and her officials had not been on the ground. You know, sometimes I understand NADMO is constrained because it doesn't have the logistics and sometimes the human resource. But I think everything, I don't know, I'm lamenting this morning, everything in this country is tardy. We take one step forward, 2 steps backwards. We wait for things to happen. We are never proactive. We are always reactive. I don't get it. Liz,
I have been to Qatar, and I wonder why people are still living on the edge of the beach. I mean, after you've seen that other houses have been washed away, why do you still want to stay there? Why don't you move away from that? Because tidal waves are a natural disaster. Nobody causes them. It just happens.
Right.
So why don't we as a people advise ourselves and be proactive as a people? They probably will tell you that they've lived there all their lives. But if you've lived there all your life and you see danger ahead, you won't be cautious, you won't move away, you still wait for it to come upon you and expect that somebody should sympathize with you. Let us think ahead. Let us be proactive, like you keep saying. If we can resettle them from where they are, where they'll get washed away if there's a tidal wave. Let's move them. Let's educate them and let them understand that it's dangerous to live where you're living. You're better off if you're if you're inland instead of on the beach or on the water. We in areas where there are islands, and let me use Barbados as an example because I'm partly from there. When the hurricanes are coming, I mean, you will be warned. And if you stay there, it's your own cup of tea because facilities are made and alternatives are made to ensure that you can leave your home and go to a safe place till the hurricane is over. If you stay there and anything happens to you, people will feel sorry for you, but then it's your own problem.
Right. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. Veep unveils 13 joint venture Koi's outdoors new fashionable shoes from Kumasi Shoe Factory, and Jospon Group provides equipment for GAF. A shoe factory, something else that we've left to go to the dogs from the Nkrumah era. We're supposed to provide for our security services, for example. So if we're starting something of this nature, I am happy about it. I'm just looking at continuity, longevity, even as we start with these ventures. Tidal waves sweep away homes at Agaveji, Salakope in K2 South, and 1 killed, 8 injured in clashes between Achim Sunafo residents and miners. Let me quickly go to the Daily Guide newspaper now. And I'll fight Nana, says Bagman, but there's more to the story. So let me give you some detail on it. Speaker of Parliament Alban S.K. Bagman has criticized the executive for allegedly resorting to the use of money and political patronage to undermine the legislature and its work, asserting that he was ready to fight any attempt to make Parliament subservient. According to him, he, unlike previous speakers who were patronized by their respective presidents, cannot be dictated to by the president or be pushed around by a mob of large numbers of majoritarian governments to do their bidding. The Speaker of Parliament, when you look at his posturing so far, what do you make of it? Yes, he oversaw the passage of the e-levy and all of that, but he's back on the necks of the executive saying, you can't just have your way this time round. What do you make of it, Liz?
It's bold. I mean, he's being very bold, but it won't take only him. He can't do it on his own. I mean, Parliament is not one person. Parliament is an institution. And I believe that it's not only Bagman who probably should be fighting this, it is all of us as a people. If we want to see 3 independent arms of government, that is what we should be fighting for, is what we should be working for. When he talks about MPs being on boards of institutions and corporations, I do not know, and I really have to find out or research before I can really make any should I call it a declaration or a say on what he's talking about. Is it wrong for MPs to be on boards? It's right if he says that it probably will compromise their position because they think that being on a board, they probably have gained favor from the executive, and that's why they've been placed on certain boards. Right. Would it translate into their working in Parliament being less or them holding back because they think that they are being patronized by the executive? I don't think it should. I believe that if you've been put on a board to work, you should work effectively. It shouldn't stop your work in Parliament. It shouldn't stop you doing what you have to do in Parliament. And if anything is wrong and you say so and you're victimized for it, then we know the kind of executive that we're dealing with. But if that hasn't happened yet, then I would want to wait to see. Unless he's saying that because of their positions on boards, they are not giving their best in Parliament. If that is the case, then he probably has to whip up the enthusiasm of the parliamentarians to focus on what is their core mandate in Parliament as parliamentarians, to speak for the people and to act in the interests of the people. And if that is not being done, then maybe he can fight the president on putting MPs in boards and organizations that probably would take away from their work in Parliament.
Fair point you make there, Liz, but there's something else he said about the former GFA boss, Kwesi Nyantechi, talking about the fact that, in a way, our woes when it comes to football started with his ouster and all of that. I found that to be rather curious because this man, on the back of number 12, by Anas Arimayao Anas, was caught with his fingers in the cookie jar. I don't know. I didn't really get the. Yes, I do see the trajectory. He's saying that since that time we've faced, some turbulent times in terms of our football, which is true. But even in these turbulent times, we've qualified for the World Cup in Qatar. And I don't know, I mean, whether the Speaker was overlooking the fact that indeed someone was caught with his hands in the cookie jar. I don't know what your take is on that.
I've refused to read it because I think that, like you're saying, Nyan Techi was caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Is he the only person who can organize football in Ghana? Is he the only one who can be the administrator of our football in Ghana? If we haven't found the right person yet, why haven't we found the right person? What are we doing to ensure that we have the right person in place? If Nyan Techi was found to be corrupt and he was removed, so be it. I don't think that anybody is going to call for his coming back. If he was found to be culpable and he was removed, so be it. Let us look for somebody who can steer football to greater heights. If it's unfortunate that maybe after his ouster, the football seems to be going down, but it behoves on us as a people to make sure that the administration is right and the administration is working to make sure that our football is up to where we want it to be. It is one rallying factor for all of us as Ghanaians. And so we should be looking at making sure that we have the right people there and not crying over spilled milk.
Just a few quick issues to look at, mainly from the BNFT, but I'll just read these headlines from the Daily Guide newspaper. Ghana on high alert, and that's talk about the terrorist threat. The National Security Minister has been speaking. Baumia launches GAF, the Ghana Armed Forces 1D1F. There's also Collins Dauda, 4 others trial for May the 11th, and Kempong woos despite Oforisapong to Qatar. When I go to the entertainment page, M.I. Abaga, for those of you who have listened to his music over at Time, unveils Lover, set to marry. And then Netflix backs out of Will Smith's upcoming film, Fast and Loose. It appears it is indeed fast and loose. It's like Denzel Washington said, when you get to your highest, that's where the devil is. He'll be looking for you. And Will Smith, well, I feel sad about the development, but it doesn't justify what Chris Rock said, whether I've not spoken about this issue, but I feel Chris Rock, comedian, yes, but it doesn't mean you can get away with everything, especially when he had a history of joking when it comes to Jada Pinkett Smith. You don't know she has alopecia. You don't go joking about people's looks just on the face of it. You know, you never know what could happen. And he got smacked in the face, not to justify it, but Will Smith is suffering the consequences of his actions, which should be a fair warning to all of us. But let's wrap, Liz, with this story. Mobile money loses 10 billion Ghana cedis in value as e-levy implementation nears. I think the headline is enough. Mobile money loses 10 billion Ghana cedis in value as e-levy implementation nears. Are you looking forward to the implementation of the e-levy?
I won't say I'm looking forward to it, but I can't run away from it. It has been passed, it has become an act. I'm yet to study the act, but then we are all caught in it. But then again, the questions are the loopholes in the tax system. When will they be plugged? If they were plugged, would we have to resort to e-levy? Those are questions that are begging answers, and I don't know what the government has to say with regards to that. Again, I look at us trying to attract investors into Ghana and giving so many freebies to these investors who are coming. Is it to the detriment of us who are Ghanaians living in Ghana? I mean, what can be done about it? Have we looked at it properly? What are mitigating factors that can be taken such that we just don't bring everybody in just because we think we need investors to help us build our economy, but we make sure that our people can also add up to building the economy, but at a lesser cost to them. We don't have to pay for the investors who are coming in because they are bringing their things in free to do whatever and take the money out.
Right.
But then we end up sitting here and we suffer the consequences. I keep saying that when you look at the free zones, when the free zones was built, it was done so that it will attract investors. They take 70% out and then 30% comes into the country. But you don't see the 30%. It looks like they take everything away. And if you go to the market to look for certain products that are in the free zone spot, you won't get them. And you ask what is happening, and nobody seems to want to tell you anything. And we live in it as Ghanaians just like that. We don't push. When we ask questions and we don't get answers, we are not pushing. We're just sitting and we're waiting. I believe that we should continue to push.
Okay.
If these loopholes that need to be plugged were plugged, would we have enough money so that our debts would not be rising and spiraling out of being able to repay?
Right.
If that's the case, why aren't we plugging the loopholes? What is causing us? Everybody will run away from paying taxes. We have a lot of people who evade taxes because you want your money that you're earning for yourself. You don't really see what government is doing to help you ensure that you get maximum profit with what you're doing. So in the end, why do they want to take that tax from you? So everybody will evade tax if they're able to. But we need to plug the holes so that the tax that people have to pay is what is paid, so that the impoverished are not taxed the rich are not made better off at the expense of the impoverished, because the impoverished are paying taxes and they are running away with the taxes and taking all their monies.
Well, you couldn't have said it any better, but always refreshing, Liz. Thank you for joining us for another Tuesday morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Let's wrap with some birthday messages. And this is from a husband to a wife. It's been decades of hard work, affliction, sorrow, and joy, but in all, you stood tall to defend and protect our interests as husband and wife. Your humility, hard work, and commitment towards our well-being have been unmatched, and in view of this, I shall continue to protect, love, and adore you unconditionally. May God continue to bless you, and I pray for more years as you celebrate an all-important day in your life. Happy birthday, Mrs. Magdalene Ohema Obenewa Mensah. It's from your husband, Ibrahim Obeng Mensah. It's also from Duncan Amwa to Abigail and Benwani, or Benwan Esihene. Happy birthday to you. That is from Duncan Amwa. Well, that's how we wrap with the news review. But up next, we have sports coming your way.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports with me, Muftawa Nabila Abdullah. Coming up, there's an interesting conversation from the Speaker of Parliament who says bringing down the former GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi was tantamount to bringing down Ghana football. And also, Gideon Mensah, who put up a stupendous performance against Nigeria to ensure Ghana qualifies to the FIFA World Cup, believes the Black Stars can qualify out of the group alongside Portugal, Uruguay, and South Korea. And we'll also talk about Ghana Premier League football as Bechebe United move to second place on the league table. But first, let's start with the Speaker of Parliament, who says that bringing down former GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi was equivalent to bringing down Ghana football. According to him, the former GFA President is held high at FIFA, and that the decision to investigate and bring him down as head of the football governing body in the country has led to the collapse of football in Ghana.
When we were able to bring down Kwesi Nyantakyi, we also brought down Ghana football. That was one of the brightest spots at FIFA, which the French call FIFA. And when I met the executives of FIFA and said I was the Speaker of the Parliament of Ghana, I said, what happened? Why did you people do that? That it was a dynamic addition. The value that he carried at their meetings, he was highly respected and he was very influential, and Ghana football was up there. We thought we were only handling Nyantakyi. We didn't know we were handling the whole of Ghana. Senegal is up there today because the Secretary General of the whole FIFA is a beautiful young lady. And you can't beat her during elections. And she's the Secretary General of FIFA. That's the Chief Executive of FIFA. You see their stadium, you see their national team. So please, leaders don't stand alone. They stand for something that is symbolic of the country. Criticize us, correct your children, but don't break their hands or their legs. It will affect you. And that's where we are now. And people are calling for government to forgive Nyantechi and bring him back to access. We're able to perform the wonders in Nigeria because of the new technical team that we put in place. They were able to gather the potential young players of future, and they were prepared to die for Ghana. If we keep this team for some time, I assure you, it's not just the FIFA games we are going to play. Ghana will be up there again. And that's one of the soft power of our country. That's why in spite of our size, our population, and the fact that we don't have critical exports, Ghana is in the minds and mouth of everybody in the world. So please, you either build or destroy. The pen again is mightier than the sword, and it is in your hands. Hold it carefully.
Let's hear from Ghana's left back Gideon Mensah, who has been speaking about Ghana's chances of qualifying out of Group H that has the likes of Portugal, Uruguay and South Korea. Uruguay and Portugal were opponents of the Black Stars in the 2010 and 2014 FIFA World Cups respectively, where the Black Stars were denied an opportunity of progressing to the semi-final of the 2010 edition in South Africa when Luis Suarez cynically handled the ball before Asamoah missed the penalty kick. In 2014, Ghana lost 2-1 to Portugal, but Gideon Mensah believes that the Black Stars can qualify out of this group.
We've had a good group. Obviously, Portugal, Uruguay, and South Korea. These are teams where you aside playing against them, you still learn something from them, you know, and then it makes it more even exciting because you're in the World Cup, not playing against the smaller teams or the smaller countries. You're playing against the best ones or the best players you may ever think of. So, in as much as we want to go out there and do our thing, it's also an experience for us. So, but this is the group that we got. So I think we have to prepare for it, and I think with good preparation and everything, we're gonna go out there and then we're going to come up with the group and then make Ghanaians proud.
And I know it's some time away, the World Cup, but as things do stand, does qualification out of the group look possible?
Yeah, very, very much. Well, the funny thing is that I have one Korean striker in my team here in Bordeaux, Wijo, who is like one of their top strikers. So we were in the flight we were going to Lille, and then once we landed, we all went to our phones. We saw the draw, and then he looked back, looking at me like, "Hey, you have to prepare good." Huh? I was like, "But this is was a great thing for me. Like thinking about people, thinking about me, and thinking about what I mean. You have Uruguay, you have Portugal, who's really on in their top form, and you have also Ghana." Building a young team and then building a new team, but I must say with the performance that we put out in Kumasi and Nigeria, we're going out there and then I have so much confidence in this team that we're going to do something.
Exactly a week today, the Black Stars qualified to the FIFA World Cup at the expense of their rivals, the Super Eagles, at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. Well, prior to that contest, many had spoken about how Victor Osimhen was going to be a big task for the Black Stars backline to handle. However, they succeeded and qualified to the FIFA World Cup. Well, another task that awaits them in the FIFA World Cup is the senior national team backline coming up against Cristiano Ronaldo, arguably the best goal scorer in the history of football. And Gideon Mensah is relishing the opportunity of coming up against the former Real Madrid starman.
This is something different. Huh? I think with this whole thing is if it wasn't you telling me about this, I was even about that. But yeah, I mean, going to play against Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the achievements. Also, it wasn't something that I was really looking up to, but this is it now. I didn't meet him in the club side, but I have to meet him in the World Cup in the highest stage. So obviously I have to go out there, do my thing, and then if he has to play on my side or I have to defend him, I do my thing and then make him look like, oh, this is a game for me. So this is a game. Obviously, like, when I played against Messi, it was difficult. Messi is like, I don't know, that guy. He's something else. But I want to wait and play against Ronaldo and I'll see what happens also.
Yeah, after you play Ronaldo later this year, I'd ask you who was the tougher one.
Yeah, then I'll see about that. But on the record though, Messi has already given me pain in my waist. When we played against them in Paris, he made one turn that I was like, "Oh, this guy." So I'm waiting to see what Ronaldo is also going to do to me. But maybe he could turn up and be like, "What I'm going to do to Ronaldo?" Well, I mean, why not? So we wait and see.
Are you also going to break his waist?
I'm not going to. I'm just going to make it run. I'm going to make it.
Let's talk Ghana Premier League football now, where Bechem United maintained their home invincibility as they pipped Great Olympics to go second on the Ghana Premier League table, courtesy of a goal from former Kumasi Asante Kotoko midfielder Augustine Okra.
Well, here we are, and we get into our big stories for today. We have a Member of Parliament for Botiano, English Amanfo, Sylvester Tete. We also have the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Al-Hassan Suini, in the studio. Both of them join us for this conversation. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining.
Good morning.
In the course of the show, we'll also have Kina Likimani, should time suffice, who is Director of Special Programs with Odikro, joining the conversation. Let me start with you on the back of something you were discussing, not necessarily in private because I was here. Sarah Adjuasa, for the Member of Parliament for Domekwabinya, was she in Parliament on Monday? And is it true that per the register she was deemed to be present? I'll start with you, Sylvester.
Well, in fact, she wasn't in Parliament.
She wasn't in Parliament?
She wasn't in Parliament.
Not even in the precincts of Parliament? Now we have to be careful when we... Was she in the precincts of Parliament?
A very good morning to our viewers, and a good morning to my colleague, Sohini, and then to the good people of Botiano English I'm from. I think that I haven't seen or cited her within the precincts of Parliament. If she's come, I might not be privy to see everybody who enters the precincts of Parliament. So it's difficult to say. But as far as business on the day was concerned, I haven't seen her in Parliament. Because she's been away for a while. If she certainly comes to the chamber, obviously her presence could attract attention. And obviously, she's a neighbor on my floor. So obviously, I'll extend a hand.
And I'm sure even she would want to show face, so to speak. Charlie, I'm back, I'm in Parliament.
I really don't know what really happened for her to have been captured as having been present in the chamber. One of my coordinators sent me a message asking whether or not she was in the chamber because he heard Adjoa was in the chamber, and I said no. So, in fact, it's Sohini who's drawing my attention that, in fact, I wasn't in when they were taking the vote and proceedings yesterday. So, in fact, it came up that she was marked present, and that kind of a situation I don't understand. And yesterday...
But when you say when she was marked present, walk us through, because some people who are unfamiliar with the processes in Parliament in terms of who is present and otherwise, they ask so many questions. How do you go about it? When you appear as a Member of Parliament, is your name notched down? Do you write your name? Do you sign? I mean, what is the process?
We have a register. We have a register that when you walked in, the assistants within the chamber will walk to you and bring you, or you walk to the table office and sign. Everybody, you sign. You have a number, so you go, you flip through the slip and you sign.
Right.
And that becomes a record for the table office to record for vote and proceedings to be scrutinized the next day.
Right.
So I think that once it's signed, and I was just telling him that it could come from either side of the house, because once you have the attendance before you, you have your colleagues whose names are on the register. You could decide to sign for them, otherwise nobody verifies that. That's so yesterday, the leader was saying that we should go the clocking system or the biometric system.
Right.
You enter, you clock. Nobody can tell.
So your biodata would, and no one can forge.
We have it entering our offices, and I think that we should do that as part of our attendance record. Otherwise, if I want to be mischievous and Suhini is not in the chamber, I can sign for Suhini.
Right.
So that's a very serious situation. So it might not necessarily be coming from the majority side or from the minority. Somebody perhaps from the table office can equally do that. So it is very difficult to attribute it to.
Is it the exception or the norm? I mean, this bit about people signing for others and all of that. Because if you're saying that she was not in Parliament and somehow, so that means someone signed for her.
Well,
is that the case?
See, the moment is captured in the vote and proceedings. The only way you can say nobody signed for her is to get to the source document and check whether it's been signed or otherwise.
Which is what? The list?
The list.
Right.
So once we haven't verified from the list, and the norm is that whoever signed is captured as having been present, then I'm presuming that indeed somebody signed for her.
Okay. Al-Hassan, it's becoming problematic for some of us, and we want to, focus on this, because just recently we had an issue with the clerk of Parliament and so many things, with the speaker coming to say, don't blame him, he's not being partisan. There are just a few oversights. Then, boom, we're hit with this Sarah Adwoa-Safo situation. And I feel it is glaring enough because Sarah, as far as we know, has not been in the country for a while. What do you make of all of this?
Well, it's not just a problem for you. I think it's been a big problem for Parliament for some time now. But let me start by saying good morning to Sly, good morning to yourself, and good morning to our viewers, especially the good people of the Tamale North constituency.
Right.
I'm saying it's been a problem for Parliament for some time now, because if you talk to seniors in Parliament, they will tell you how the idea of even printing names for members of Parliament to sign on, came about. I recall in the 7th Parliament, we used to sign in the mails room. That is where they kept the register. So people, as you walked in, you went to your pigeonhole to find mails that were in it. You signed before you picked the mails. Eventually, it was moved onto the floor, where you have 2 separate sheets, one for the minority, one for the majority, because we use different entrances to come in. So it is put at the entrance of each side. So as you walk in, you check out your name and sign. Now, if you heard Speaker Bagbin talk about presence in Parliament the other day, he made reference to Right Honourable Peter Alajete's ruling that did not make it mandatory for any member of Parliament to sign those sheets, even though they have been provided in the past, first in the mails room and now at the entry point.
Right.
He even indicated that as a member of Parliament for the longest time that he has served the people of Nadoli, he never signed.
Nadoli Kaliu.
Yes, Kaliu. He never signed those sheets, because for him, he agrees with Right Honourable Peter Alajete that presence on the floor in the chamber is enough for the table office to capture his presence. So
I guess that is subject to confirmation, right? I mean, now we have visuals and all of that, but if someone did not sign, and then it became questionable about whether the person had actually been there, and there is no visual evidence, then what happens?
So that's
you see where then it is crucial for you to have signed.
That's what I'm saying. It's been a problem for Parliament for a long time, and they have been trying to resolve it by introducing these sheets either at the mails room or now at the entry points of both majority and minority. Now, I think the best solution is what is being suggested by many, that we should go biometric. We should have the clock, in system installed at the entry points. We have our ID cards already that we use to access our offices and also some parts of Parliament's building. If you have that card, you swipe and you can have access to some parts of Parliament, and also you can have access to your own office. So I think that if they install the same system at the chamber block, so that when you are entering, you use your card and the evidence of your lock-in will be easy to the table office to capture as to whether you came in or not. I mean, that's also subject to some kind of abuse. People may give their cars to people to come and swipe it, but at least it gives some level of guarantee that people have actually come to Parliament. In the case of Sarah Adwoa Safo, it's not even too clear yet for me if she's in the country and if she was in Parliament or not. Because when Abu Ramadan raised the issue yesterday, after he noticed in the votes and proceedings that she was marked present, unfortunately the responses did not zero in to answer the question of whether she was present or not. It rather went around how we can determine presence.
Skirting the issue.
Yes, whether
basically.
we can be present, how to determine
when someone is present.
When one is present or not. So leadership from the majority side and leadership of Parliament did not really speak to the issue of whether Adwoa Safo was present or not. And so I don't even remember how the table office was directed to capture that situation, whether as a mistake or to leave it as such. Because as things stand now, you can actually be in your office or just walk past the chamber block, sign, and go and sit in your office. So it is possible that nobody signed for Adwoa Safo. It's possible she's in town. It's possible she came early. It's possible she signed and went to sit in her office, and after that went home. Is
it standard practice that if you're in the precincts of Parliament, it basically is an extension? By extension, you are present, as has been suggested in the rhetoric in recent days.
There are two interpretations of being present in Parliament. The Supreme Court and other people argue that you have to be in the chamber. That is when you are present in Parliament and you are present during business. But Speaker Bagben's argument is different. He is of the view that presence of Parliament includes Parliament. And so if you are in the presence of Parliament, you are still in Parliament. That is what some people didn't understand when we, on the minority side, decided not to make an appeal against the decision of Speaker to preside over the passage of the e-levy through the same Speaker. Because the Speaker has made his position consistently clear that for him, presence in Parliament goes beyond just presence in the chamber. And so there was no point litigating.
But is that not contradictory? I mean, if the Supreme Court has ruled substantively that you must be in the chamber. That is what. So that is what qualifies as presence. Yes, of course. We also know that the Speaker gives the interpretation in the chamber. Basically, he is the law in Parliament. If I'm just putting it in those terms, so it creates a bit of a difficulty now.
Just be patient and listen to the point I'm making. So you see, the Speaker has a position, but unfortunately, the Speaker's position is not law. The Supreme Court's position is law. You know, the Supreme Court rulings is part of the body of laws. So when the Supreme Court says that presence in Parliament in the course of doing business is determined by the number of people in the chamber, it becomes relevant for us challenging the quorum to go to the Supreme Court. Because as for the Speaker, his position on that is different from the Supreme Court's position. And his position in the past was our position. But unfortunately, our position together with the Speaker's position is not the law.
But shouldn't you be going by what the law says?
So that's why we are going by the law. And we are now saying that since the Supreme Court says it is law, we are drawing the Supreme Court's attention to the infringement.
Which is why you are taking up the matter in
the infringement of the law that they have initiated. But maybe finally on this matter, I've heard the majority leader suggest that Sarah Adwoa Safo will be
called before the Privileges Committee.
Privileges Committee.
He says push has come to shove, and right now their hands are tied. That was the very next thing I was.
Yes, I think that they have the right to do that. But personally, Benjamin, before I will support, the Privileges Committee and Parliament to do anything about Adwoa Safo's presence or absence in Parliament, I think that we all must demand that His Excellency the President does something about her decision to abandon the ministry.
You mean the Ministry for Gender?
Yes, the executive arm of government must do what it has to do about her absence.
Which is what?
He is the appointing authority.
But she hasn't abandoned her post.
He's the appointed.
You see, he has appointed someone to stand in.
I am saying
he has appointed someone to stand in the gap.
That is.
I believe it is Cecilia Abena Dapa, the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources.
She has simply abandoned post.
I'll give you time.
She has abandoned post, and to not punish her and not allow her to still draw salary, because once you have appointed somebody to be acting, she's still the substantive minister. And then expect Parliament, which is the legislative arm of government, to punish her or do something is unfair.
So in other words, it's a dereliction of duty.
It's a dereliction of duty.
He's letting you do his work for
I am saying that Parliament will also do its part, but let the executive not derelict its duty of ensuring that Sarah Adwoa Safo is called to order.
Okay.
Then Parliament can also take it from there. In the absence of any action by the executive, I don't think Parliament should bother.
So in the absence of that, yes, you are not going to support...
In the absence of
any move action, to remove...
I don't think that Parliament has any moral authority, any moral right to the people of Ghana more than the executive does.
Let me come to Sylvester. Your reaction to
I think it's unfortunate because Adwoa Safo is not a minister because she's a member of Parliament.
Now we know our constitution also has its own dictates when it comes to even the ministers and what pool will come out of Parliament.
Exactly, it has not been established that she has been selected or chosen by the president to be a minister of state because she's a member of Parliament.
It's been established.
It hasn't been.
It is.
It hasn't been. It hasn't been.
It's been established.
No, please.
You want me to explain to you how?
No. I don't need you to explain to me. It is obvious that there are ministers of state who are not members of Parliament.
Right.
But she makes...
So Adwoa Safo can today be removed from Parliament and will continue to be a minister of state.
Please let her.
I just want to... She forms part of the composition that the Constitution requires the president to draw from Parliament.
No.
She's part of that.
And that was what I was averting your mind to.
If you take her out, it doesn't defeat that composition of the ministers that should be drawn from Parliament.
Right.
It hasn't. So you cannot say that for a fact. Because if you require more than 50%, the number of ministers from Parliament today, take away Adwoa Safo, it will not defeat that constitutional requirement.
Right.
So for that reason, you cannot say that the executive might take a decision before, an action before Parliament does.
So no. it doesn't work that way.
In any case, the presidency had issued a statement that they've granted her leave of absence. And it's normal in administrative setup.
Right.
And a caretaker minister has been appointed.
But is it not interesting that up to now, we still do not know the basis on which this has been... I mean, what is... Don't you think the good people, if not of Ghana generally, of Dominic need to know what is going on with their member of Parliament?
It's a legitimate question to ask as to why her long absence from the ministry.
Right.
I don't fault anybody asking that. But the presidency or the executive knows. That is why they've issued a formal statement granting her leave of absence.
Right.
And we should take it as such. If Parliament has a responsibility to punish Adwoa Safo for a long absence without approval or permission from Parliament, that should not be in sync with what decision the executive takes.
Okay.
So please, let us not put the two together. So if it becomes necessary that Parliament should take an action against Adwoa Safo, because we know if you're absent from Parliament for 15 sitting days without approval permission from Parliament, obviously
we've had members of Parliament do that in the past. The law didn't kick in, and that is why some even women's groups have come to say you are not being fair.
Exactly.
Shifting the goalposts.
If it's necessary, if it becomes necessary, all these things will be looked at.
Right.
So it should not be said that if the executive don't take an action on her, then you will not support Parliament.
So you are of the view that if we are going to look at Adwoa Safo, then we should also be looking at the likes of, as has been mentioned, maybe the Minister for Greater Accra, Henry Quartey, who is also a member of Parliament for Ayawaso Central, who is, I mean, per your own lists, is said to have also absented himself. There are other members of Parliament.
I can't say that for a fact because I don't know. I had been away.
No, but I'm saying, would your thinking be that then, to be fair, we should look at these other people as well?
Of course, if it is established that they have traveled or they have absented themselves for more than 15 days without permission, you can't be sure for a fact. You cannot be sure.
Your own member of Parliament, I've forgotten whether it was Sam George or Okujeto Ablakwa, but he states categorically that he mentions the member of Parliament for Asin Central, Kennedy Japong. He mentions the Ayawaso Central MP. He mentions another one. I've just forgotten.
Let me give you a typical example.
The constituency.
I traveled for 5 days. I wrote a leave of absence. It went through the process, but I had been marked absent throughout. When I came, I followed up with my letter and their record has to be changed.
Okay.
Right? So maybe you are not privy to this information. You could be counting that have been out of the jurisdiction or from Parliament without permission. So we don't know that for a fact. That is why you are giving a hearing.
I'm not saying it's a fact. I'm merely saying that if it is confirmed,
if it is confirmed,
would your suggestion be that to be fair, then let's look at these
nobody is above the law.
Right.
In Ghana, nobody is above the law.
All right.
So if it is confirmed that Mr. A or B has absented himself from Parliament for this number of days, punishable by law, obviously they should all face the same music. Right. I'm not too sure leadership will be selective in this matter. Let's all deal with it as such.
Let's consider.
I just want to play with my brother that if Parliament is taking the decision, don't draw the executive in. No. Obviously, you know.
It's like, for me, if you ask for equity, you must do so with clean hands. And there's a saying in Dagbani that when the dog,
I would like you to do the Dagbani before you get into the.
I was expecting that.
Do the Dagbani for us.
The buy to Wahai Sana. I mean, bui to Wahasana, ba vimbara. To wait that when the goat barks at the stranger, it is a shame, or it should be a shame for the dog. The dog should be embarrassed that it is sitting there whilst the goat barks at the stranger. So I'm saying that Serajua Safo was elected or selected among many competent Ghanaians by the executive to play a role for the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana. And for her to go a war, to, abandon post without any repercussions from the executive.
Establish that.
I do not think it is fair.
Don't say she has
Parliament,
post. Don't
for Parliament to,
let's be fair,
put the interests of the people of Dom Kwabinya over the interests of the women and vulnerable in Ghana.
But we should establish the fact that she has an abandoned post.
As Minister of State,
let's establish
she is serving the people of Ghana, the women and vulnerable in our society.
The point is, the appointing authority has had cause to grant her a leave of absence.
Yes, she has
and has appointed someone to stand in her stead. So you can say that the ministry has technically not been abandoned.
Yes, she hasn't been abandoned.
They've given someone oversight in addition to that person.
I'm not saying it has been abandoned. I'm saying she has abandoned post.
She hasn't.
And it was as a result.
Let me ask you something. Do you know why? Do you know why? Hold on for me. Do you know why exactly she's not been able to show up in Parliament? Do you know why?
I do not know.
Good. So we don't know, and it could be anything. And the executive, for some reason, that's why I was asking him. I mean, it would have been good for us to know, unless it is something that, for example, some health issues matters cannot be discussed in public. That's why we've been, a bit reticent when it comes to discussing this.
Why are we discussing this as if we are unaware of the context within which she left the country and the attempts that were made to bring her back for e-levy?
We know of that, but in the midst of all of that, have we known what specifically has been her? That's my point.
See, when I talk about abandoning post and dereliction of duty on the part of the executive, you have to factor in the effort the executive, we are told, made to get her to come down, to engage in parliamentary work, not even in ministry work. That failed.
Right.
And I'm saying that alone amounts to a certain level of disrespect. That does not explain why the executive will still want us to believe that a leave of absence was granted her.
Right.
But I mean, that for me,
right. So
it grows your point is, that must be addressed before we come to address the issue of her absence in Parliament, where she's supposed to represent just the people.
You have a quick rebuttal in 30 seconds. I want us to extend the conversation.
You see, the point is that there are two separate institutions of state, arms of government. At the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection, there's a deputy minister. A caretaker minister has been appointed, and the presidency has duly communicated the reasons why she's out of the jurisdiction.
What is the government afraid about?
She's been granted a leave of absence. You need to take that in isolation. Don't bundle that with Parliament.
What is the president afraid of? What is so difficult?
No, please. They are not being fair.
How is it so difficult for the president to just sign a letter saying she's been fired?
But can you imagine?
Why? What is it?
Why do you want her fired? Why do you want her fired when
because she's not working
has a reason
and she's being paid?
She's granted leave of absence?
She's drawing salary.
There's no.
Why can't the president,
it is not a crime to be granted a leave of absence?
Just sign a letter to say Sarah Adwoa
on many occasions,
minister for gender.
On many occasions,
what has she got
Speaker
on the
of
president?
Parliament has left the jurisdiction and left her
what has she got on the president?
Are you saying that?
Hold, let me
say that.
What has she got on the president?
Hold on.
I am afraid for our president that a minister of state can hold our president to ransom. What has she got on our president?
What is it that you think that she has on our president?
I don't know, but I think that for the president to be impotent in acting.
That's strong words.
No, but these are strong words. That's unfair.
No, hold on. Let me do this. Those are strong words. And by saying what you're saying, you are suggesting, intimating that she may in fact have something on the president, for which reason the president's hands are tied. No, that's what he's suggesting.
But why can't the president, with all the powers he has, fire a minister that has decided to disobey him and his government?
How do you say he has disobeyed him?
They asked her to come.
Talking about?
According to Kennedy Ajapong, they send her money. They send her tickets, planes.
But I think you're not being fair to the president.
Why can't the president just fire her?
Look, the strategy of the president to manage this country, the number of ministers is the prerogative of the president to appoint the number of ministers to administer his administration.
Yes, no, I don't think that.
Today, Adwoa Safo has been given a leave of absence. Another minister has been appointed to act in her stead. So what?
All right. So I think the back and forth is on the same matter.
That's not the problem.
It's just on the same tangent.
Yes.
I think it is clear your positions. You are going to support her being ousted. Please hold.
Yes.
You're going to support her being ousted from Parliament, but you don't think necessarily she should be ousted from the executive post, which is from a different arm of
the executive
government.
come to say that they have given her the end of her leave of absence is due and she's not back.
And she's still not back.
Then I can advocate for
you think the executive should take the initiative, in fact, should seize the initiative before Parliament can get it.
I don't see why I don't see why.
Before I get into the Jachikwason bit, though, Abdul Samed one is watching live from Edra. He says, "Hi, can anyone update me on the e-levy?" We'll be getting into that shortly, so just hold your.
He hasn't started yet.
And Adam Zu says, watching live from Tamale. Greetings to Al Hassan Suini. So that's just for you. The other side, and now it's become a numbers game. Very tricky in Parliament, even for the passage of the e-levy, because they said some members of Parliament were still on the floor. Jachikwason, the member of Parliament for Asin North, the last time he didn't even get into Parliament, and I hear there was some consensus, even from your side, the minority caucus, that he shouldn't come to the floor of Parliament. And now we're being told that he is not a member of Parliament, per Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu. Is he still a member of Parliament or not?
As far as we are concerned, and per the advice that our lawyers have given us, he remains a member of Parliament.
Okay, so just hold for me. I want all of you to watch this. Just watch this and we'll come back on that issue.
If you listen to the minority leader today, he said, yes, they knew that they had 136. Right?
Yes.
Assuming that is true, why is it that they are stressing? They are not stressing on 137 or 136. Because they know that technically the Asin North person has been ousted by the courts. They know.
But that seat hasn't been declared vacant.
It doesn't have to be.
No, but it has to be. The Constitution is clear.
Yes.
The process for declaring vacancy is there in the Constitution.
Listen. What's the process of declaring vacancy?
The Speaker has to formally inform the Electoral Commission.
Is that the case? That is not the case.
What's the case?
That's not the case. Look, I have the Constitution here. That is not the case. The Constitution provides in Article, what is it? 97, I should think. A member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament if any circumstances, if any circumstances arise such that if he were not a member of Parliament would cause him to be disqualified or ineligible for election under Article 94 of this Constitution. There's that automaticity. You shall vacate your seat. Who says that it must necessarily come from the mouth of somebody?
So you're saying that
if the person decides not to make the pronouncement, that person will be there? No.
You're saying that once the court declares, automatically his seat is vacant?
In my understanding, a member of Parliament shall vacate vacate his seat.
Yeah, but that clause isn't the same.
Shall vacate his seat.
I'm not disputing that, but that same provision spells out the series of circumstances.
No. Please read. What clause? That's what.
Spells out the series of circumstances.
97.1 says, a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament 1 upon a dissolution of Parliament.
Yes.
What do you need? Immediately the Parliament is dissolved, you vacate your seat.
True.
There's that automaticity.
It also includes when you absent yourself.
If he is elected as Speaker of Parliament, there's that automaticity. What processes are required? Thank you.
So your point is that James Achikwe, as it stands now, is not a member of Parliament?
That's my understanding of the law. That's why they themselves are saying that their number now is 136. And if it's 136, if it's out,
you use the word if.
And I know that he is. The number now climbs down from 275 to 274.
Which means half is
137. So they are saying that they are admitting that we were 137. It means that we can take a decision with 137, assuming what they are saying is the right thing, that all of them had emptied the house.
All right, so that was my colleague Evans Mensah interacting with the Majority Leader, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu. Let me start with you, Alhassan Suide. Quick reactions. And we don't have too much time on this. I don't want us to dwell too much on it. Quick reactions.
Yeah, so because we don't have much time, a lot of things are happening, and for those who are spiritual, they may want to, study a message that is in what is happening with Parliament, to the people of Ghana. A message is in there somewhere. I mean, you have an election, and when you are done, a lot of things happen. Then both sides produce 136,
137 apiece with an independent candidate.
137 apiece, and then an independent candidate comes and decides to caucus with one side to make it 137, 138, 137. And God, in His own wisdom, provides another balance by ensuring that the Speaker of Parliament comes from the other side. And then you have 138, 138. And then when the judiciary is, being used to reduce the numbers in Parliament.
Al-Hassan, you're treading on
a slippery slope. I'm entitled to it.
Okay.
It's not.
Go ahead.
It's my view.
As host, I must also caution you sometimes. You go ahead.
And I say, when the judiciary is being used to reduce the numbers on one side, then for some strange reason, Adwoa Safo is also absent. And that same side that, is going to benefit from the judiciary reduction of the minority side is now also even pushing for Adwoa Safo to be taken out. You see, and then you come back to 136 again. I mean, something is in there somewhat. But I am saying that for us on the minority side, as things stand now, we believe that James Kwesen is still a member of Parliament for our Sin North constituency. Yes, on the day that e-levy was considered, like the Majority Leader says, technically, there were issues because remember that day he was in court, and there were some rulings in court, and those rulings had remedies.
Right.
And so at the time that we're considering the e-levy, we had not applied ourselves to the remedies, and that is why, being very mindful of the law, we decided that look, let's operate with the number 136 because we were in constant touch with our lawyers who were filing other papers to remedy the actions from the court that was to make him not hold himself up as a member of Parliament. When those papers were eventually filed, and we are very convinced those make him eligible to hold himself as things stand now as member of Parliament, we came back to the status quo of 137. So yes, technically, at the time the Minority Leader was speaking, before those papers were filed, we knew that we could be 136. But that technicality has been, redeemed by the papers that have been filed by the lawyers.
So just a quick yes or no answer. As it stands now, is a member of Parliament for Asin North, or at least the former member of Parliament, depending on where you sit. Is he still a member of Parliament?
He's still a member of Parliament. He still attends to Parliament. He comes to Parliament.
Is he going to be in the chamber next time? I mean, I know you're taking a break.
He has been in there. I have seen him around the whole of this week. I've seen him around the whole of this week.
But has he been on the floor of Parliament?
Yes.
On the floor of Parliament.
He's come to Parliament a couple of times. I've seen him.
What's your take on this situation?
I mean, he's
In fact, yes,
narration,
last
it's
week,
obvious that...
But again, I'll stress that because we have other issues,
Yeah,
please
but
make it
he had his
as
time.
brief as
He
possible.
had his time. And obviously, his narrative indict his own position.
How so?
Yes, simply so. On the basis that he says, at the time we were taking the e-levy, he was not a member of parliament until processes had been filed.
Which is why he stayed away.
Yes. So when we say we were not 275, but 274.
For which reason half of
yes,
it
half of it,
actually
137.
Right.
So it makes it simple. Until the processes were filed to remedy the situation, you were not a member of parliament. So the majority leader is right. So per his own explanation, at the time we were taking the e-levy, members of parliament of the Republic of Ghana were 274. So it's not an issue.
Simply put. Now that you've brought in the e-levy, let me just go to this briefly. We've heard from Engineer Dr. Kenneth
I'll just
Ashigbe.
respond to what he just 1 minute. You see, he says that members of parliament at the time we're taking the e-levy were 274. Assuming, without admitting that is right, because I know that by the time we walked out, we're 137. Because we had filed all the papers.
At what time?
But assuming he's right, what I also want to put on this same record is that there were 136 members of parliament who remained to pass the e-levy, not 137.
Right.
Because the chieftaincy minister
I
was
get your
at
point.
no point
I get your point.
on the floor in the chamber.
Right.
Well, this is a matter of legality.
Yes, so
And this is
that's why I'm also putting it on record. I know
that is a matter of legality.
Both of you,
I know the legal
I
effect
get
of the
exactly what the
274.
majority leader.
Yes,
hold on.
I know the legal effect of the 274.
Hold on, guys.
That is why I'm making the point also that there were 136 members in the chamber at the time.
So when we do the number count,
Right.
if it turns out to be 274, like the majority leader said, then of course half of it to form the quorum would be
But is he aware?
137. But if it also turns out
is he aware the
that
chieftaincy minister was in parliament that day? Is
He was not in
that has
the
been
chamber.
disputed. It has been disputed.
Well, but the ruling of the speaker, how come it is obvious? So this one, you are in court.
But
so I don't want to go.
So we'll get past this. I mean,
yes, we'll get past this. You are in court.
The chips will fall in their places.
The judges also watch some of
Right.
this. So I just wanted to put it on record.
That's a fact.
So that I can draw the attention to the fact that
I want us to move on. The record captures it on 137. We were 136. We didn't need 137 to pass.
Gentlemen, did you have 137 in the chamber? You never had 137 in the chamber.
You are spending your own time for the discussion.
137? When you just said that the man was not in the chamber.
I said at a point.
At what point? So at the time you were walking out, did you have 137?
But
at the time you were walking out, did you have 137?
Yes, at the time
you didn't have 137. You didn't have 137.
James' question was with us when we were walking out.
Can you imagine what you just...
I said at a point, he was not with us. But when we finally got confirmation from the lawyers...
But when the minority leader was speaking,
when
the minority leader was speaking at the time you were walking out, it was 136.
Are you done?
Why didn't you say to take the vote? You should have said to take the vote.
Shall we proceed?
Yeah, we should.
Okay, thank you. So we also have the e-levy bid. I want us to take another swipe at that before we get into the Speaker of Parliament because of the flow of the conversation. Engineer Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe of the Chamber of Communications has said that a 1 month window till the 1st of May to get into the education and all of that. And indeed, there have been panic withdrawals and the system is reacting. We've spoken to, I think, the President or General Secretary of the mobile money operators and all of that. Then comes the issue. If you look at today's Business and Financial Times, it has it right there. Mobile money loses 10 billion Ghana cedis in value as e-levy implementation nears. I just want to ask, what do you foresee happening? What next on the back of the e-levies passage? I'll start with you, Sylvester, before we get into the Speaker of Parliament and his recent comments.
I mean, it's expected. Panic reaction is expected in situations like this, especially where taxation and obviously people will lose some money. It's expected. When petrol prices are announced, increment is announced, people tend to buy enough fuel to fill their tanks before the new prices are announced. So it's expected. So I'm not surprised. And all these things have been figured out that, yes. But you see, for how long can you stay away from mobile money transactions? It is not sustainable.
You realize it's a rational choice to use mobile money, and that it is also a rational choice if you look at the charges to move away from it. And people are looking, especially in the economic context we find ourselves. You
see,
it's a tricky situation. And let me just add this before you answer the question. You do realize that while we have budgeted that would accrue some 6.9 billion, close to 7 billion Ghana cedis, if people withdraw en masse or people don't use mobile money like we expect them to, we're not going to get that revenue, right?
Obviously, and it's expected. I mean, if you look at the projections, it's conservative, bearing in mind all these factors at the initial stages. You're not expecting to rake in at the highest point when you start this because of the panic reactions like this. It is natural with human beings. Nobody likes to pay taxes. And obviously, when taxes are announced, people take precautionary measures until they settle. So we know of all these things. Yes, definitely nobody should tell me that mobile money will be at its best when this thing takes off. And especially when you have a 1 month period for people to take a decision. I mean, somebody called me yesterday, if you want to send me money, don't use the mobile money because I don't want to pay the tax. And I said, it has not started yet. So I asked the person, if I'm not sending through Momo, how are you going to get the money? Think of the transportation to come to Parliament to get the money. And they're going back. Take that from there. So the convenience of it will make it difficult for people to run away from it. But of course, me, where I sit, members of Parliament, the amount of times we do Momo is going to affect us. But the convenience of using Momo cannot be overridden by the cost of the tax you are going to pay. So naturally, we expect this Momo tax to bring it a bit lower because we're talking about 1 trillion transaction annually. So what we are recording today, obviously, is a convenience of it that people will be paying for. And for that reason, I know the beginning of it, the first 3 months of it, I expect these numbers to come down. But obviously, after a while, when people are settled, and a lot of people too are not really getting the understanding. The calculations people are doing, it's way above what people will be paying. For that reason, I think that we demanded of the ministry to put out proper education within this 1 month period. Let people get to understand it.
Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe thinks you can't do it within a month.
Well, it will be a continuous education, and
until now,
and the communications,
how many days
and the communications
I've not seen much education going on.
Well, they're rolling out education pretty soon, and we are going to engage them. The communications committee is going to engage them to ensure that they educate the populace very well. The ministry, for that matter. I think if you look at the bill, they made it clear they're going to roll out public education. So we understand it that with the first 3 months or so, the numbers will come down. But subsequently, I believe that it will. Look, revenue targets are either could be met or reduced. So we expect all these things. But
when VAT was proposed in the 90s, and we had the Kumi Preko, CME Preko, Gimi Preko bits, it was withdrawn for a while and then retabled. Okay, and now all administrations since then have stuck to VAT, even increasing it. Yeah. Would you say that if the numbers are so bad, right, when you start with the rollout, and we will eventually get the numbers.
Yeah, we'll get the numbers.
If like we've seen in some other countries, if the figures are not good enough, they are really bad. Do you say, or do you suggest your administration maybe consider withdrawing it for a while?
Of course, when we started 1.75, we had listened to the good people of this country. It's been dropped down to 1.50, right? Out of the cry of the people, we went to the telcos to reduce their margin. They did so. So going forward, if it becomes necessary that government takes that decision, why not? Government is a listening government. You can't say it's cast in stone. We will never change our mind. We started 1.75. We started 1.75. We are now to 1.50. So naturally, it's a listening government. We will take into cognizance all the factors and all the circumstances prevailing at the time. We'll make an informed decision. Whatever decision government takes is a decision in the interest of the good people of this country and to save this economy.
Right. Let me, before I bring in Al-Hassan Sueni, let me just say a very good morning to Kinan Likimani, Director of Special Programs with Odikro. Kinan, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you. Just hold for me. I want the Member of Parliament for Tamale North to react quickly to this bit, and I'll be with you shortly. Thank you.
Okay.
Al-Hassan, quick one.
I think that the rhetoric, listening government, is being abused. And I think that my friend Sylvester must not abuse it in the manner that he has done on this platform. A listening
That's
government
mischief.
is a government that was led by, and you gave that example, a listening government is a government that was led by a military ruler turned a Democrat with absolute numbers in parliament that decided to listen to Nana Akufo-Addo and his people when they demonstrated and did the CMA Preku and all of that and withdrew the VAT. That's a listening government. He was a military leader supposed to be a dictator. He had absolute majority in parliament. He didn't need to bring his members of parliament in ambulances to get that bill, that VAT.
But you were saying he was not in parliament.
But you know,
so why do you say there's someone who came to parliament in an ambulance?
He listened. God bless his soul. That is a listening government, not a government that will do everything in the book and outside the book against 80% of Ghanaians'
How do you come by this number?
The University of Ghana research.
80% of Ghanaians.
About 80%.
How do you come by this number?
Well, it wouldn't be too far from, because even here, we interacted with,
the University of Ghana
it's not the whole country.
But he's saying 80% of Ghanaians. There's a research population. There's a research population.
9 out of every 10 were saying.
There is a research population you should refer to. But when you say 80% of Ghanaians, yes, sample size, you refer to the sample size. But you don't just say, yeah, 80% of Ghanaians. Say the sample size. No, it is not correct. It is not correct.
The research is done so that it can be.
There's always a sample size, so refer to the sample size. I mean, you know what you're talking about.
Sample size is representative enough of
but
the
you can't say
so that you can.
No. So just like to make his point. So you've made your point about sample size. So you put a dent in his argument when it comes to sample size.
So refer to the sample size. What was the sample size? 80% of Ghanaians?
According to the researchers at the University of Ghana, 80% of Ghanaians are against.
They didn't say so. They didn't say so.
Has gone ahead.
I've read the paper. They didn't say so.
Everything in the book and outside the book to get it passed.
So he didn't get it right. They didn't say so. They didn't say so.
Now, again, the Deputy Minister for Finance, John Kuma, even before the bill was passed, admitted that their own research showed that there will be about 24% reduction in, mobile money transactions, as a result of this bill. But they didn't care. They still want the people of Ghana to endure, whatever inconvenience this law is going to bring about. Again, even before the bill was passed in November, we are told by the Bank of Ghana's own data that the mobile money transaction lost value to the tune of 3.2 billion Ghana cedis in November. So from November to January, we are now having to lose value of about 10 billion Ghana cedis. And this is against so much work that has been done in the past to make this economy a cashless one. And so for us to, before our eyes, watch all the gains that we have made as a result of investments in the past, to encourage people to use cashless systems, to do transactions, just go down the drain because of this, imposition of a tax that is not even properly classified. It's just, mind-boggling. And when you look at the data from other countries, clearly, this doesn't look sustainable. The unemployment that it is creating has already started. Unemployment other countries have reported has already started in this country. Mobile money operators, I'm happy you said you spoke to their leader. They are already giving us figures of people who are losing jobs as a result of people's, change in attitude towards the use of mobile money. I mean, clearly, that is not, a good omen at all. But as things stand now, the president has hurriedly passed it into law and has already begun spending the proceeds on expensive luxury jets to go and watch
when the member of parliament knows that a member of parliament knows that he has not started.
Even before the lady starts accruing money.
Well, you just spending it. Can you imagine? No, so he need.
Look, so you're saying he started spending in advance of getting the money?
I am saying that before the levy was passed, the president, when he was going to Dubai, went on commercial flight.
We should settle this.
Then he comes home, gets all of us to pass the e-levy, hurriedly signs it, and then he goes back to his expensive jet.
My brother, listen, let's
paying millions of Ghana cedis.
A quick, I mean, these are
30 seconds. I need to go to Kinali.
Sohini, you've been in government before. Listen, Going to Dubai.
My party has been
going to Dubai. You were an appointee of the government then. You were a member of a board. So you were in government then. You were a member of a board.
If that is your definition of
course, I mean, if you are a member of a governing board of an institution, you were in government. President going to Dubai, it's been explained. That going to Dubai, you have Emirates that has a business, a first-class cabin that the president can use. If you're going to London, there's no flight going to London that has a first-class cabin.
Expensive taste.
Please, don't say that. We're talking about the president of the republic. It is not Nana Dodangwa Akufo-Addo. It is the president. He did not. Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. You know for a fact. You know for a fact what the president is in the UK doing. You know what the president is in the UK doing. So if you're going to Dubai, if there's a first-class cabin going to anywhere in the world, the president will not mind boarding that flight.
All right, point,
he has shown them
point made. Let me bring in
Let's
Kina
not
Likimani.
do this to ourselves.
Kina, and thank you for your patience, for holding patiently for us. Now, we've discussed a number of matters already, from the e-levy to the absence of Sarah Adjua-Safo and the claim that she was in Parliament, her name being on the register when in fact she was not there. We've also taken a look at the passage of the e-levy and the situation to do with the Asin North Member of Parliament, James Jachikwason. So I just want to find out from you on these issues, especially as Odikro follows this matters, I mean, relentlessly. What is your analysis of these matters? I don't know which one you'd like to start with. Sarah Adjua-Safo, maybe?
Well, I think that the whole thing is framed by, we've been pushing for some kind of tallying of voting. In other jurisdictions, I think they use some kind of electronic monitoring board.
Right.
So that we know exactly who is voting. This issue of members of parliament being listed as recorded as present when they are not in the chamber, this has been, I think it started when Odikro released AFT's report. Then even the majority whips, even the leadership, I can't recall what year it was. Might have been even 2019. Some, they would say on the floor of parliament that the votes and proceedings are recording people as present when they were not in the chamber. So this is an old issue that has not been dealt with. That particular present when you are not in the chamber. And this whole idea of whether you are on the ground floor, but certainly but
the Supreme Court
not in the chamber.
Right, Kina, per the Supreme Court's ruling, it is clear that presence in Parliament can only be referred to when you are in the chamber.
Precisely, but my point is that we do not have, it's high time there was some other way of ensuring accuracy of presence. Because we can't be going with people doing it. That is, as unfortunate as it is, this is the issue now. And it's an issue now because we have a hung parliament. We have a parliament where one vote here, one vote there makes all the difference. So it's about time we went to tallying of actual electronic tallying of votes so that we know who voted for what. We've been saying this. And also a better recording of who is on the floor of parliament, because this is where we are now. Who knows? I mean, it's time. In fact, the time is past. So that's one. The other issue of
just quickly, Kina, before you get into the other issue, I just want you to consider this. These are lawmakers. It is being suggested in some way that sometimes it is easy for another lawmaker or whoever to sign on behalf of another member of parliament. In other words, to create the picture that this person were, in fact, on the floor of parliament. How bad would that be? How bad would such a situation be?
That is absolutely terrible. That's terrible, and we do not need that. That is terrible. The thing about the absenteeism, as it is a constitutional provision, is that the worst thing about it is not only that there are some chronic absentee people, but the fact that it also goes against those who have made it, their job to always, most of the time, be in parliament, abide by the rules. it's a practice that if it's going on, needs to be stopped immediately. We do not need our parliamentarians to do this for each other. It goes against the back, particularly the benches, some of them who represent constituency far away from the capital, who make it a point for being in Parliament, on the floor of Parliament every time they can, and that they fill the forms so that they are, when they are absent, it's with permission. So it has to stop. And we've been going because Ghana has, we've always had majority, a clear majority. This has not been an issue. It has not been addressed. It's time for us to address it now.
Time for us to address it. Just briefly, if it is proven that someone signed for Sarah Adjasafo on Monday, what should be the penalty? I mean, what should happen to such a person?
I don't know. We have no civil society organization. Nobody can make rules for Parliament. It's up to Parliament. Parliament sets its own rules. All we do is see whether they are abiding by it. So that will be up to, again, the Privileges Committee, the leadership, to decide. Well, it's not for us. It's not for us, Odikro. It's not for us, for Ghanaians, because Parliament is its own governing body to decide what they want to do. But again, no, this goes beyond one person. This goes to a practice that may be getting increasingly worse, may be going on. And the point is that when leadership notices something, they have to address it. And if we can't even talk about a timely manner, because absenteeism has been an issue since Parliament started in the Fourth Republic. So we're not even saying that when you see an issue, please address it in that year's session, the time that just get to addressing it. Just address it, because this is a constitutional provision.
All right, let's stretch.
Abide by your standing orders. And even, let me finish. And even the sanctions. Well, now if they take Adjasafo to Honorable Adjasafo to Privileges Committee, then there are all those other people. Like Parliament has to say we are going to abide by our rules and abide by the rules that the body itself has put in place.
Okay, so I was going to say that as she is going to be hauled before the Privileges Committee, per what the majority leader has told us, should we extend that to others who have flouted this law? I mean, should it be retrospective? Because it's been mentioned that others have been in the same shoes. Nothing has happened to them.
I don't know whether it should be retrospective. But it's certainly a very curious development. If Parliament itself is going to open its own doors using the Honorable Adjasafo's case to deal with absenteeism, my cynical view is that Parliament will not. But if it is, then, then it's open season, isn't it?
Open season. It's interesting because even while I talk about retrospectiveness, that has been the law. If you absent yourself for 15 sittings of Parliament, there are consequences for that. So even as I talk about this retrospectiveness or whatever, it's actually been the law.
It's the law, but the caution I would say is that there has been, a long time ago, Odiko, we tried to sue some members of Parliament on the issue. We couldn't even, I think the court bailiff was even arrested on the Parliament show. Right. There is a need to get clarification on the wording of that constitutional provision. Is it cumulative 15 days? Or is it one time? Yeah. So there's some work that has to be done on that provision. Right. But going on also that provision, then we also ask that there are other things that feed into absenteeism, particularly the issue of minister appointees, and so it's a constitutional provision. It's an issue that has to be interrogated, and all the other things that feed into absenteeism made easier for MPs that are, for instance, time conflicted to make meetings and stuff. So we also do not support MPs who are appointed as ministers. Okay. Because we think that obviously that when it comes to serving the people of Ghana, being an MP is far more important, and it makes it difficult. Okay. For some of them, it's not. I'm not making excuses. Just right. In just about some 2.5 minutes, I'll give you a minute each to wrap the conversation. I just want us to look at
the Speaker of Parliament saying he should be held accountable for the action of MPs. How does that rub off on you, Kina?
Did he say he should
not? He should not actually be held
responsible
for the action of MPs.
Well, of course he shouldn't be. What we all want, what Odikro keeps saying is that what we need, what Ghanaians need, is effective representation on the floor of Parliament, in Parliament, of Ghanaian issues. And I have to say that, and so for instance, the passage of the e-levy is a disappointment. I didn't take part in the University of Ghana survey, but I am against it. And the fact that something addressing the MP, the fact that something has become so convenient and so crucial to our economy and our lives does not mean that because we can't do without it, the government should step in and tax us so, whether it's a tax or even a levy. So what we want is effective representation, we want transparency, and we want accountability from Parliament. It really doesn't matter. We don't need the Speaker to even say, hold me accountable or don't hold me responsible for MP behavior. That is neither here nor there. The MPs represent their constituency. So we hold them, each of them, accountable for their own behavior and the representation as they work in Parliament, abiding by the standing orders and the rules of Parliament. I mean,
okay, very quickly. I just caught this, so I just had to get some clarity. You say you're against the e-levy. Why?
Oh, yeah. The e-levy is first of all, it's an anti-poor policy. Secondly, it is anti-financial inclusion. Thirdly, and let me repeat, for a country that has, our finance minister went on record to say that people should not count on getting on the government payroll. The e-levy, the mobile money platform has enabled a lot of jobs. What we need to do is go, but when you are taxing a levy and money moving, when government has not provided jobs, when it is an anti-poor, it's an anti-women, it is an anti-disability, I mean, I do not even understand.
Okay.
I can't understand why in a country like Ghana, and when you have, let me say something about the technology of this.
Very briefly, for the sake of time.
Very quickly, when Africa got on mobile money, we were, I think, the first. There are certain practices that has actually enabled our economy that other jurisdictions around the world would be jealous of the fact that we took to mobile money, the fact that we get on the internet primarily through our mobile money, primarily through our mobile phones. These are statistics that you want to build upon and enable. It makes no sense to allow taxation exemption for companies that are operating in Ghana and then turn around and tax your people with e-levy.
Right.
Like, why? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Kina, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have more time to expatiate on these matters. Director of Special Programs at Odikro, Kina Likimani, joining us there. Gentlemen in the studio, 1 minute each. The Speaker says, don't hold me responsible. You guys are responsible. Your quick take on that.
Well, I mean, there are two sides of the coin. For ensuring order in the House, the Speaker should be held responsible.
He should be held responsible?
He should be held responsible.
Okay.
For debate on the floor of the House, what members say, decisions they arrive at, members of Parliament should be held responsible. So there are two sides of the coin.
All right.
So indeed, if it has to do with debate and positioning, the Speaker will have to put it to vote.
Right.
And whatever decision comes, it's for the members of Parliament who are supposed to be held responsible. But when it comes to organizing the chamber, how business is conducted and everything, it's the leader of Parliament.
Okay.
So if he goes out to touch wood, embarrass Parliament, he's the leader of Parliament. He should be held responsible. So there are two sides of the coin. So I think that, yes, his score is right, that when it comes to debate, members of Parliament are responsible.
In other words, the Speaker is right and he's wrong at the same time. All right, Alhassan Swedi, quickly.
I think it's moot. We each have responsibilities and account differently to the people of Ghana. The Speaker has his responsibilities. He accounts differently to the people of Ghana as to how he discharges those responsibilities. And as members of Parliament, we also have our responsibilities and we account differently. So we can't be held responsible for the Speaker's irresponsibility, quote and unquote, And the speaker shouldn't also be held responsible for members of parliament irresponsibility. That's why I think it's moot. It's a no-brainer.
Okay, all right. Alasan Suini, Member of Parliament for Tamale North. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining. Sylvester Etete, Member of Parliament for Botiano Englishi, Amanfru. Thank you so much for joining. And of course, we had Kina Likimani, Director of Special Programs with Odikro. Up next, and we're going right into that, we go to the Nat Hall, where my colleague Papani Ashali is standing by. It has to do with the placement and some students who are yet to be placed. We cross over to the Nat Hall now.
So currently we are at the Nat Hall, where for the Greater Accra region, students who finished their WASI, their BEC, I beg your pardon, are hoping to enter the senior high school, are doing their self-placement processes. Now, for some of these students, means that they were not able to get any of their 6 schools that they chose after they completed the BEC. Some of their colleagues went to school yesterday. That was the reporting day for them. So we are here at Nat Hall to interact with some of these parents on what exactly are some of their challenges. What have they also heard from the authorities here, from the Ghana Education Service, from the placement system folks as well, on what is going to happen to them. Are they going to go to school after all? I'll talk to one of the parents. And you can see from the background, a lot of parents, since we've been here, close to 100 of them have come in, whereas about 50 of them have also gone. Some of the conversation I'm hearing from them is that, or they've been told to go home, their issues will be resolved, and it will reflect later. I have one of the parents here. Chief, what's your name?
My name is Apostle Elvis Jabba.
Okay. Apostle, how many days have you been coming here?
Oh, just this morning.
Just this morning.
Yes.
Okay. What's the issue about?
My daughter hasn't get a school, so I'm coming for school for her. I'm looking for school.
So of the 6 schools, she was not given any of them?
No.
I mean, what have they given any reason for that?
No, they haven't given any reason. They collect all the forms, and they told us we should go. They will call us back after they finish.
Okay. So what schools did she choose?
Abri Sectec and Mansinai.
Okay.
Right now, they give us 3 schools for which to choose. So I'm expecting them to call us.
So which 3 schools did you choose?
Right now, no, we have chosen Abri Sectec now again, and Mansinai and Kropon. Yeah.
But you didn't get it the first time. What was the assurance they are getting this time around?
I don't know, but I hope we will get it. Okay. They are working hardly. They are working hardly. So I hope we will get it. In the few days we will get.
But her colleagues started school yesterday. They at least reported to school yesterday. Are you not worried about that?
My daughter is swollen. Okay. It nearly take a drug, killing herself. So I'm pleading for them to help me to get to school for my daughter. The daughter name is Ohinewa Princess Ohinewa Jaba. Okay. So please help me to get school for her.
I'd really love to meet her. Is she around here? She could come here. Let me speak to her briefly. Ohinewa, Daddy tells me that of your 6 schools, you did not get any of them. I mean, how did that make you feel when you checked? You didn't get any of the schools that you chose?
Oh, I was very sad. Yeah.
I mean, so to what extent? What were your expectations when you, after writing the BC, you saw a result? What were your expectations?
I thought I'll get my first choice or my second choice, but actually I didn't get none of them.
Some of your friends went to school yesterday, and you are still here. Don't even know your fate. How does that make you feel? Does it compound your sadness?
Yes.
Right now that you've come here, what are you hoping to get out of this?
Well, I hope I'll get a school, a better school. Yeah.
But Daddy tells me that you were going through suicidal tendencies. Tell me about that. Why were you decide to end it all?
Oh, when I didn't get school, I thought maybe I'll go and write again. But my dad is helping me to get a school, so I'm bold and I'm sure I'll get a school.
Of the 3 schools that you choose, which of them are you hoping to actually get into?
Abri Sectec.
Why that school?
That school is very, the teachers teach very well, and I would like to go to that school.
Anyway, I wish you all the best going to that school. So that's Apostle and his daughter, Ohinewa there. He tells me of the sad story that she was contemplating suicide after finding out that she wasn't going to get another school. I have another parent here. Daddy, how long have you been coming here?
Sorry, I'm not a parent. I'm a headmaster.
Okay. So as a headmaster, what are you doing here today?
I have compiled my students who want to change their program to do TVET programs. Okay. in the selected technical schools. And to relieve the burden from the parents, I have to take the trouble and come and seek for placement for them.
But why are you doing it yourself? Usually when they are choosing the school, I think the fifth choice compulsory is supposed to be a TVET school. But what, in the first place, what school are you talking about?
I'm talking about pure technical schools.
Okay. I'm talking about what school are you headmaster of?
I am a headmaster, Prince Boating.
Okay.
But the problem is, sometimes the students may choose the school when the placement is in, but later they change their mind. In my case, they chose pure secondary schools, but later they go home and realize they are technical oriented, and they wanted to change their program, and we have to understand them. Sometimes we were advising them, but they don't take it. Later they realize they have to change it to their their talent. So this is what I am doing. I am here to change all those who want to do technical programs to the technical school.
And what was the feedback we're getting from the authorities here?
Yeah, the arrangement is very good. It's very simple. We have to praise the secretariat who is doing this. They have programmed it to the extent that as soon as you come, you complain, and they will receive your complaint and feed it into the computer and tell you to go home, so that within 3 or 4 days, you can get a message from them that they have done it for you. And I think that is not putting us into any pressure.
Wonderful. Let me thank you very much. So he's a headmaster, is here to do self-placement for some students who have gotten into his school, but upon realizing that this is not what they really bargained for, they are hoping to change to some technical schools. Probably a good thing for technical schools, TVET schools in the country. So this hall right here is where the self-placement exercise is happening, where those who did not get any of their 6 schools, the choices that they made in the BEC, will be able to make a choice. Finally, you can see in there that many parents are seated, waiting their turn to be addressed. Let me speak to Daddy here. You are a parent?
Yes, please. Yeah.
What are you here to really work on?
Oh, we are not happy about the school that they gave to me. Yeah, so we are here to change the school.
I mean, what school was she given? What's your child given?
OT Secondary School, and you see that we are in Accra here, and we are just we are not okay about the distance. From Accra to OT region. My God.
You wanted your child to be a day student?
Boarding.
But in Accra?
Oh, Accra, or at least Sogakope is cool to me. Yeah.
So what school are you hoping to change it to?
When I'm going to work on Sogakope. Okay. Yeah.
But what response have you been getting from them?
We just came. Okay. We said we should go and print something else. I'm going outside to go and print something out and see what God will do.
I wish you all the best, Daddy. So we'll speak to some more parents here. Let me speak to this parent. Daddy, good morning. Thanks for joining me.
My name is Arnold.
Arnold.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Arnold. So what are you exactly here to address?
Last week, about my small girl. Okay. We write everything that they say we should done. We done it, but since yet we don't see anything. That's why I came here again. Yeah.
But what happened today? You are here. What have they been telling you?
I came here because of I came here last week, and I brought the paper there. They didn't call us. That's why I came here again.
But what exactly are you hoping to do? To change your school?
No, she didn't get any school. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. All the 6 schools. What were the schools that she chose?
Come. She's the one choosing. So she came with last week with his mother. What school you choose? Come.
So I just want to find out briefly from you. Your daddy tells me of the 6 schools you didn't get. What schools did you choose?
My first choice was Accra Girls, Methodist Girls, Ghana National, and Pochin Amidia.
Okay. And you didn't get any of them?
Yeah.
I mean, how so? I mean, usually we know that maybe you do really well, but they didn't choose the schools in the right order or something. Must be something wrong. What do you think was really the problem? Was it the grades?
I don't know.
I mean, how well did you perform in the BEC?
I did well.
Did very well.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to ask what exactly you got, but you believe that you should have gotten any of the 6 schools you chose?
Yeah.
Now, so you were here last week. He tells me you were here last week with your mother. what was the feedback that was given to you when you were living here last week? Anyways, so how does it feel though to not have gotten any of the schools, and your friends went to school yesterday? I mean, how does it feel for you as a student?
I feel bad.
Tell me about it. How do you feel about it? Very sad indeed for her. So she is one of the few students who got. She says she performed really well, but she didn't get any school. Let me finally speak to the daddy. So you've been here today.
Well, here we are, Papa Niashale, engaging some parents and more. We take a bit of a breather, but when we return, we're going to be talking about key players in the power industry. They've been around for 28 years. It's all about G&J Technical Services, a homegrown Ghanaian energy company. We'll find out a lot more about them when we return on the AM show. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So it's all about G&J Technical Services, a Ghanaian energy company with world-class generators. How can you benefit from their services? Well, we'll be telling you a lot more about them. We're hosting Godfrey Asiedu, Managing Director, G&J Technical Services Limited. We also have Matthew Asiedu, Deputy Managing Director, G&J Technical Services Limited. Godfrey, Matthew, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
I am particularly excited because you have stood the test of time. Only yesterday I was reading about another company that has been in here, family company. And here we are with you, G&J Services Limited, Technical Services Limited. 28 years ago you started this. What was it like? I mean, how did this even start?
Good question, and thank you very much for having us. 28 years ago, I remember very well, it started in February of that year. A friend of mine from the UK, who used to come here to sell Dale generators, got to know him and said, Godfrey, I think you could do something with this Dale franchise because for 2 years we don't have a representation in this country. At times it's amazing, people get to know you better than you know yourself. So I said, no, I'm gainfully employed. I've worked my way through this company for all these years. Just leaving everything and then starting a new company, I think that's a tough one to ask for. He said, Godfrey, think about it. So myself and my dear wife went to the UK. He took us to see the managing director.
Right.
That was in March of that same year, 1994. And then the name of the gentleman is Ian Dale. His father had started Dale Power Solutions in 1935. The father had died. He was managing it. And he told me, Godfrey, you can do something with this business in Ghana because I know Ghana has been a good market for us. I said, okay. I would like to have a go at it, but then how
do you go about it?
How do I go about it? He said, what would you need? So I scribbled some few points down. I said, I will need so much. I said, Godfrey, you don't need £30,000 to start a new business. Here is a check for £20,000. Take it, pay me back in 3 years. Go and then get to work.
Wow.
So I had to then convince my dear wife that this is the way, let us go. And said, okay, let's get on with it. So we came back here with £20,000 check in our hands, paid it into our account at Barclays, and what we, like they say, the rest is history.
The rest is history. But it took that initial decision to actually go ahead.
Exactly, yes. Exactly.
Matthew, I mean, you have been born into this.
Yes.
What has it been like? I mean, as far as the journey is concerned, your being in the business, G&J, and providing energy solutions, basically.
So I joined the business in 2019 after uni, but all my life I've known about the business.
Of course.
It's never been kept separate from us. But it's now you're in a position where you have to carry the legacy on, make a difference, grow the business, and keep it going. So it's been enjoyable. Every day you learn. And he's very, very supportive because it's his legacy. He wants to keep it going. So when it comes to the training, the support, trying to help you meet the network, it's all there. And I just have to put in the work to make sure I can carry it on and keep it going. So it's been a good journey.
And that's quite a challenge, isn't it?
Should
I say challenge accepted?
I don't look at it as a challenge. I just try and look at it on the positive side and just try and keep going with it. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a bit more about what services, core services you offer at G&J.
Okay, so the main part of the business is sales of diesel generating sets. But MD has always said it's not just about selling a set, it's about maintaining and sustaining a relationship. And that's where the 24/7 after sales service comes into play, because we believe in being there for your clients. It's a machine, it can break down. So you always need to be available. You need to have a team that is responsive so that whenever you do call them, they're there with the right tools, with the right parts, just to provide a solution. So after sales and sales, that's the core of the business.
And that's crucial, isn't it? Because you can get a machine that is brand new today.
Yes.
And it could break down today.
Yes.
It's possible. It doesn't usually happen, but it's possible. So that is why you would need a G&J where you have this 24-hour round-the-clock service too. I see you want to chip in something.
No, I think that is the very day we started this business, I told myself and the team I started with that we might not be able to sell a brand new generator every day. That is impossible. Right. But if we look around and we look very well, we should be able to find someone's genset somewhere and then support it. As a result of that, the first name again, please.
Benjamin.
Yeah, Ben. As a result of that, on the high street, we started from Barclays Bank, Stanchart, Ghana Commercial Bank, Ghana Commercial Bank. No, not Ghana Commercial. GNTC used to be just behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Barclays, GNTC, Cadbury opposite Barclays, Stanchart those days, Ghana Commercial Bank, the Supreme Court.
So it was like a string. You were just going on the whole.
We managed to supply generators to all these people just because we took care of their old gensets and then maintained them. And when the time came for them to renew them, they didn't move away from us. They gave us the opportunity to supply new gensets. And we continue to maintain most of them up to today.
Smart move. You got one foot in, and of course you introduced your own products in there.
And the important thing is the relationship building that comes with it. I remember when Mr. Sitcom started here, we came here one night, we were moving from Ajankote to here.
Right.
We had to bring in a generator and then fix it that night. And ever since then, Kwesi has become a friend. We've remained friends since then. That's why we chose Joy FM.
And we're glad you've chosen us. Let's talk about, and I'll split this question among the two of you. Let's talk about what you've contributed to the power sector and our economy over these 28 years. I'll come to you first. Junior will continue from where you start off.
No, I think, again, that is where you derive the satisfaction from. The first power crisis we met as a company was in 1998. And those who remember, it was really, really tough. Akosombo went just down. Power was rationed 36 hours, 12 hours. It was quite serious. Yeah. And we couldn't have enough gensets to ship from the UK to sell because these things are not just, they don't sit on the shelf. There you go and pick them. You have to put them together, build them. And what we did was that getting the opportunity to support businesses and then factories, manufacturing plants to keep them going. Irani Brothers, Intema, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, to the extent that even those days the castle had to get a genset and were able to provide it as well within that short space of time. So when you look back and you look at what you've put into industry to keep them going, to help them sustain themselves, employ people and then continue to pay them, I think when you sit back, you tell yourself at least it's a day well spent.
YAB.
Exactly.
YAB. I'll have you come in, but before that, just because you mentioned in 1998 and the crisis and how it was difficult, to get so many in the system, has that changed the turnover time? How quickly now can you get a genset into the country?
Okay. Since 1998, what we've done is that we've kept a very good stock of genset at any point in time.
Right.
We have to be careful that we don't overstock, but that's again the beauty of understanding the market. We always have a genset there that if we were to walk in today and we need a 1,000 kVA generator, I should be able to mobilize a crane and a truck to deliver it to your door within 6 to 10 hours because we have it in stock.
So same day?
Same day.
I can walk in today,
Same
look,
day.
I want 1,000 kV, and by close of day, I would have my 1,000
We'll deliver it. We have a good warehousing system in Hacho. So what we do is that some are in bond, but at any point in time, we have those we have cleared out of bond to be able to fulfill the market. So coming, when it gets to supplying, just like that, we'll be able to support you.
Interesting. Let me come to you, Matthew. So on the same point about what your contribution has been to the economy of Ghana, especially in the energy sector, what would you say from your point of view?
So I'll take it from a different angle, not from the supply side, but from the after-sales side, because like we said earlier, you can sell a genset, but if the support is not there, the facility you've supplied that genset to might not be able to function. So having the end user believe and have that assurance and trust that I have a genset from G&J, but more so I have the team on call, that whenever there's a downtime, they're going to be here. And we give ourselves KPIs and timelines that if you're in the Accra enclave and you are to call me, I should be here in less than 30 minutes because it's that important to you, which makes it important to me. So in terms of...
You stick to that?
We stick to that. We imbibe that
30 minutes
in Accra.
What helped us do that is that we had to invest in motorcycles at some point for our technicians. We know what the traffic is like. And getting a technician on a four-wheeled vehicle.
Right. You will not get there.
No, you won't get there. So what we did was we invested in motorcycles. At least if the technician is not even equipped enough, he will be able to do the basic things.
Right.
And then whilst we bring in additional support. And that is what we do to be able to support our customer, to be there for them, because we need them.
Right. You were still on that point.
No, so yeah.
So basically, that is it.
The after sales.
But what would you say, Godfrey, are the core strengths? I mean, someone may say, well, there are other entities that do what you do.
Yeah.
What sets G&J apart? What sets you apart?
I think it's our values. We cherish sincerity, honesty, integrity. To me, when it comes to I don't delineate business from what my core values are. There are certain monies I wouldn't go for, no matter what, because I want to keep a certain name. And I'm glad we've been able to keep, and that's what I've been instilling in this young man, that yes, we want money to live, but at the end of the day, look at the name you're going to leave behind. Right. So that is critical to me, and it's critical to the business. So our core values is, if Ben comes to me to buy a generator, and the good thing is that for the period we've been in business, we've supplied over 3,000 generators out there. We don't have a single white elephant sitting out there. Anybody we have sold the generator to, I could walk to that person today and then shake his hands, knowing very well that I gave him the best and he got what he wanted as well. A typical example, there's a gentleman at the airport residential area. We sold the 40 kVA to one of the first gensets we supplied in 1994. It's still running.
1994?
1994 is still running, Mr. Ishmael Akwelache. He's in the airport residential.
That's about what?
Oh, 28 years, yes, exactly. And when we hit 25 years, I decided to I wanted to buy that generator so that we can put it in our showroom and then give him a brand new one. He said, Mr. Sido, I'm sorry. I like my old genset because it has been good to him and he's looked after that genset. It's always a joy walking into his house, and then my daughter, who is 31 now, so the genset 28 and 31 has become a very good friend of Mr. Akolache.
3-year-old now.
Exactly, as a result of that. Yeah.
I'm coming to you specifically with this question because, I mean, we're having a discussion even before we got on air about such entities and keeping them alive, generation after generation. What is the future of G&J services? And I'm sure you've cogitated, you've thought about it. What is the future going to be when Daddy decides to hang his boots?
Okay, so I'm going to look at it from two parts. What's happening now? The growth of any business is usually measured by revenue, product diversification, product extension of product line. So what we decided to do is we wanted to do some research to find out, like MD said, you can't sell a genset every day. It's a capital equipment. So we did some research to see in the industry we are in, which is power, what product can we sell that's considered a fast-moving good, but is also in the business of power. So we did a research and we decided to go into maintenance-free batteries. You know, maintenance for cars, trucks, equipment. So we set up a business called Guardian Power Solutions, GPS, which is a sister company to G&J, where it's solely focused on selling batteries to the Ghanaian market. We have 3 main brands, Energizer, Guardian, and Optima. So that's what we're doing now. But for the future, the hallmark of any successful business is adaptability. And right now there's a shift into trends of sustainable, renewable power. So with our research and development team, we are really looking at how we can tap into this in the medium to long term. So it's an active thing going on. It's continuous. Yeah.
What is the one thing, Godfrey, that you would like those watching us to take away? Just one thing, because we're very pressed for time.
Our reliability.
Okay.
We're reliable. We sell quality gensets. Full stop.
Thank you so much. Godfrey Asiedu is Managing Director, G&J Technical Services. We also have Matthew Asiedu, Deputy Managing Director, G&J Technical Services. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation and wish you the very best. That's how we knock it off this morning on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Do stay for the rest of our programming.